Because usually people don't want to play the heel.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that played Tyronn Lue being stepped over. And it also reminded me of how foolish it was that the NFL outlawed their players celebrating for so long.
So, no, here's what
How
happened,
about that?
Here's what happened between Moore and Lockett, though. It was like whoever scores first. The other one got to be Ty Lue.
I like that.
The person who scores first gets to be AI. That wasn't the only great video from that game. Chris Carson,
Not the Bubba Chuck.
tailback for the Seahawks, did something that we've seen a lot of running backs do the past 2 years, but he did a little different. The hurdle for Eric Reed, but then he flipped and landed and kept running. Sure, his knee was down, but still, this is something that every time a running back successfully hurdles over someone in the secondary, I just get concerned. Like, this is going to end badly one day, and running backs are going to stop doing this.
You and I are thinking the exact same way. Like, I'm one of those people that is hating the fact that one of those guys are going to fall on their head.
Yes. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's cute when Ezekiel Elliott does it and keeps running and makes the highlight.
If you've ever jumped over somebody or ever jumped over a fence.
Who's ever jumped over somebody? Fence, I'm with you. I'm with you on the fence.
That little bit of your toe, of your foot get caught, you lose all balance. It almost happened with the guy in the Browns game. Where his teammates pushed him in.
Great segment. Transition, Jalen Rose, because we now go to the Browns game. The Browns have won 2 games in a row. This time they beat the Bengals. What was interesting about this game, though, is the Bengals have a special assistant to the head coach named Hugh Jackson, who just was the head coach to the Browns. After this interception, gave the ball to Hugh. After the game, Hugh chases down Baker Mayfield, tries to pull him in for the bro hug. Mayfield gives him the stiff arm and gets a pat on the head. Jalen Rose, what do you think about these low-key, kind of sort of sneak disses toward their former head coach?
Well, he wasn't successful as the head coach. So usually when that takes place, players in the locker room are happy that you're gone. That's just kind of how it works. Unfortunately for him, when you're unemployed, you're trying to find a gig. So Marvin Lewis is going to give me a gig to go back to Cincinnati. You can't knock him for trying to have a job in the NFL, especially after he struggled. So I understand that the players probably took it some type of way, that they're playing against a team a couple of times a year, and their coach decided to join their squad, but he didn't actively pursue the gig. He got fired.
It's not just that. It's like, you are our head coach. You put in all these defensive principles, and you drew up all these plays for us, and now you're going to get paid to tell all of our secrets to the Bengals, because we play the Bengals just a couple weeks after you got hired.
It happens all of the time. But more importantly, I want to stress, this really doesn't speak well for you.
No.
Because you're on the Cincinnati side, and you're supposed to be familiar with everything the Browns are doing.
Exactly.
And then y'all get
You were supposed to be the secret sauce.
No other team has gotten thumped by the Browns in years.
I hope next week he's not even on the sideline. In the Sunday night game that I made the mistake of staying up late for, because I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to do another crazy comeback. Didn't happen. The Vikings beat the Packers, and part of beating the Packers was the limbo celebration. Adam Thielen was a human limbo bar, and they went underneath. Soft move or boss move, the limbo celebration.
Boss move.
Really?
Terrific celebrations that are now taking place. At first, early in the year, we complained that they were a bit mundane, and all of a sudden they've picked up. So
they picked up a little bit.
I appreciate this, and also I tell people all of the time, the national media appreciates Aaron Rodgers' greatness, and rightfully so.
Yes.
But as somebody whose team plays in the same division as his, it seems like people overrate the rest of their roster.
Yes.
Like I've said on this program, the Bears and the Vikings are clearly better than the Packers. So I'm not surprised.
Well, the Packers had
undertaking.
they had a lot of injuries last night specifically, and especially to their line. It just seemed like Aaron Rodgers, once he put his right foot down to end his drop, he was just like, got to move. And all the passes that he completed were passes where he had to run out of the pocket and make something happen.
How about this? Under Mike McCarthy, the Green Bay Packers have not drafted an offensive skill player in the first round. Just think about that.
Great nugget. You've been doing some research for Get Up, haven't you?
So what that says is they have Aaron Rodgers, and when you look at the teams that they're playing against, if you were going to pick top receivers and top backs from yesterday's game, you would take Thielen, you would take Diggs,
Cook.
you would take Cook before you took anybody on Green Bay. And then when you look at their defense, Clay Matthews was kind of supposed to be to that side of the football where Aaron Rodgers was to the other side of the football.
Slowed a little bit after 10 years of playing professional
They drafted Ha Clinton Dix in the first round. He's not there no more. They had 2 sacks and 0 interceptions yesterday. That's just not going to get it done. So their football team isn't complete.
Shout out to the Vikings. They did look like a complete football team. And Kirk Cousins looks like that
Griffin
guy.
Back.
He looks like that guy. Yeah, he had an impact. Their defensive line looked good. The Steelers did not look good against the Broncos. I mean, this was a game that was just riddled with offensive mistakes from the Steelers. I mean, here we're going to get the block, and there were 4 turnovers on the 1-yard line. This turns into not 7 points for the Steelers, 2 points for the Broncos. Sort of semi-unfortunate, but you got to hold on to the ball there. There's a pick for Big Ben, and then this one is another on the 1-yard line. That was to the very end of the game. He called a fluky interception. Dog, if the defensive lineman didn't intercept the ball, then the linebacker who was covering Antonio Brown was definitely going to intercept the ball. There's 2 Broncos there to intercept the ball.
So the first piece of footage where you show the Pittsburgh Steeler about to cross the goal line, he got folded like a chair.
Yeah.
I give credit to the defense on that one. Okay, like he got broke off. Like plays like that is the reason why people like me decided I'd rather play basketball than football. Now, Big Ben as a quarterback, if you look over the past few years, hasn't been really good on the road. Remarkably better at home than on the road. On that final play, now Connor has been doing a great job of filling in for Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
But he hasn't escalated. And so he had a fumble earlier in the game. And also on that last play, he and Ben bumped into each other.
Yeah, it was a little funky. Like when you watch that, because, I was like, oh, this is the end of the game. It's a close one. Let me see Big Ben come back. And you watch that play. It just didn't look right from someone who watched a lot of football.
Correct. And so the Steelers, because they're explosive on the offensive side, are going to be in a conversation amongst teams, in my opinion, like the Chargers, Texans, a level down from the Kansas City, and you got to obviously pay attention to the Patriots because you know they're going to win their division.
But you made a good point about him not looking great on the road, and you also mentioned when you lose games like this, you don't host a lot of playoff games.
Correct.
And that's slipping away from them right now. They had a big win streak going. If they continued that, maybe they'd be hosting playoff games and advancing through the playoffs. Now that's all in jeopardy.
But Juju be getting out the gate.
Well, now that we're talking about playoff seeding, we say we give to people what they want on this program, Jalen Rose. We have to discuss something.
What?
The Michigan Wolverines on Saturday. I was so excited for this game. I was so excited for this college football game. You're just gonna leave. Okay. Oh, he's gonna get the bat. Oh no! Jalen's going to the bat. Jalen divorced the bat like 2 years ago on the show. And okay. Oh no. Jalen Rose, you had the floor. What did you see from your Michigan Wolverines against Ohio State?
Since 2004, we've beaten Ohio State in football once.
Ooh.
And that time when it happened, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
And when you lose 14 out of 15, you say even less. I said leading up to this game, anybody on the podcast, anybody on the television show, I will not slander in any way, shape, or form the Ohio State Buckeyes because they own us.
Oh, I'll slander the Wolverines, though.
They own us.
But, Jalen, that was like the best defense in college football. It didn't look like it.
You know how many sacks we got? None.
0.
The best defense in football. We had 0 sacks. And I actually did another piece of research that's really going to trip you out. And it pains me to do this. But, I got to deal with this 364 more days of my life. Okay, again. So, I was like, why are they beating us? Like, what keeps happening? So I was like, okay, maybe it's because they're probably better and more talented. That helps.
Doesn't seem like they're better coached.
So since 2004, they have 83 NFL draft picks.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
We have 53. They have 23 first-round picks.
To be fair to Jim Harbaugh, though, some of that isn't on him.
That's why I'm not saying.
Yeah.
This is not an indictment of Jim Harbaugh. This is a celebration of The Ohio State University and how they continue to create an atmosphere that fosters elite level talent.
Yep.
Period. Like, just think about it. 2 years ago, when we played against them, who was running the ball? Oh, that was Ezekiel Elliott. That's right. He's really good at football. Yep. Like, these are the people that we're playing against. Like, true story. And I was always pay attention to the D-backs drafted. 15 since 2004. We've had 4. So you have to give them credit. And I know in rivalry games you throw out the records and you say talent don't matter. And yes, it does.
Oh, Jalen, no. But here's one thing you're not mentioning. Matters. Here's one thing you're not mentioning. It wasn't even close. I was like, hey, maybe 50-50. I don't know who's going to win. But if you would have told me that the Wolverines were going to give up 62 points, Jalen, 62 points in a football game. It wasn't a basketball game. It was a football game. The Wolverines gave up 62 points. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I was secondhand embarrassed for you. And you're going to come on TV and be like, well, let's celebrate the Buckeyes. Because you don't want to say anything negative about the Wolverines. 62 points. There's number 1 defense.
There's, like, when you've been humbled and dropped to your knees, you got to own it. I ain't about to be the guy up here sticking out my chest, singing our fight song.
Talk about next year.
We got thumped.
You got thumped.
I feel the exact same way the players feel, the coaching staff feels, and all alums feel. OH owns us.
They do. Coming up next on Jalen and Jacoby, Jimmy Butler finishing games for the Sixers in so much style. We'll break it down after this.